Hey guys, this is Paul, and this is the Iteration 22 development update. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is a pretty dramatic change with the way how bases can build ships. So before, let's say I wanted a bunch of fighters, and then I wanted a corvette. So then on a base, I would have to wait until these 6 fighters are built before this corvette was built. And early in the game, this was okay because your unit cap was fairly small, and the enemy waves weren't that big. But what happened was at the end of the game, or towards the end of the game, where you have 3 bases and your unit cap is almost 30 fighters, um, building a fighter would cost you a lot more in terms of waiting for a corvette, which might be more valuable. This is the latest build. And if I go to my base and I say, hey, I want a bunch of fighters, and then I say I want a corvette, as you can see, the corvette is being built along the fighter. They're not taking up the same slot. There's 2 slots, one for fighter, one for another ship. This is in bases only, not shipyards. Shipyards, external shipyards work the same way. But what this means is that building a fighter is not such a big investment right now, because you can still build a corvette, so your fleet can build much faster, especially if you have multiple bases as you do later on in the game, so that larger unit cap isn't as big of an issue. Now, an interesting side effect of this is that the enemy has the same capability as you, so they can build multiple ships at the same time in their bases, so their attacks come in much faster. So what happens is that early game difficulty kind of goes up for players that don't realize that they can build ships, which some players don't. For players that don't realize they need to research ships, especially corvettes early in the game, so they can build them out of a base. But either way, this is a very important skill to learn in Void Destroyers, so without that, you're going to be really challenged. So overall, this is, I think, a really, really positive change in the game. It should dramatically change the way the game is played. A lot more action, a lot more shipbuilding. I want fighters to be like the infantry units of your fleet, like Marines in StarCraft. A lot of players have issues with this where they think fighters die too quickly. Well, how long does a frontline soldier last against a tank, or or a carrier, or whatever. They don't last that long, unfortunately, but they're still important units. So this change should hopefully alleviate that, where players will still build, will be able to build a lot of fighters to replace their losses. So fighters are going to be a constant presence on the battlefield for those who want to hop into them, who want to dogfight and things like that. Another change is this other type of a formation. So before, when ships came out of gates, they would line up, literally in a line, the line formation, and it was kind of a mess because they lined up based on their orders. So here we see a bunch of fighters by your command ship, and then frigates and corvettes. And this line later on in the game just became really long because we have all these units. I had to do something about that. It was just a real mess. And here's what I did. So I created what I just call military parade formation. And you probably saw this if you played Homeworld. You probably saw this in Homeworld, where ships nicely lined up. So here we have some fighters in the next formation. We have these corvettes in front of your command ship. And then we have frigates. And if we had destroyers, they would line up here. And then cruisers take this really high point up here. And they have their own fighters in a claw formation. Let's switch to tactical just to see what it looks like here. Tactical gives you a little nicer overview here. I'll launch some more fighters there. So yeah, this is a nicely organized formation, and your support ships are in the back, your combat ships are in the front. There's a nice protection. This line isn't ridiculously huge as it was if ships were alternating. That line would stretch really long, especially later on in the game. So this is a really cool little feature. You know, it lets you organize your fleet a lot. You know, you don't have to do a lot of formation management. If you do, you can, but it certainly does this fairly basic, but I think really nicely organized formation for you. So I think this actually came out in the last iteration, not iteration 22, which is what I'm prepping right now, but in iteration 21, but I don't think I mentioned it in video form, is this resource request system. So when you go to a base and you select the base here, and if you have multiple bases, you can request a resource from your other base just by clicking this button here. And what's going to happen is this base is going to launch a ship that is carrying a cargo pod, and that cargo pod gets delivered to your other base. So the cool thing about this is that, you know, this gives you this ability, there's the cargo pod, of having a little bit of a larger economy. You know, you capture the base, you're not alone anymore, you can transfer resources from one to the other. And in one of the missions in the game, you're sort of in one base, and that base can't exactly produce every single resource, but you have access to your other bases via a gate. So recently I put in this same system, this resource request system, to be available via gates. So not only can you get reinforcements through gates, but you can also get these cargo pods, these ships. So this adds a bit more strategy. You know, it makes you feel connected to the rest of the game, to things you've done in other sectors. You know, you conquer these bases, they're your bases. You fought for them, you know, you sacrificed ships for them, things like that. And now you get to have that sort of a slight persistency where you can get cargo pods from them to be delivered to your bases. And yeah, I think that's a really cool little feature. You know, there's not a whole lot of economy in Void Destroyer. You basically get these three sliders here. But with the addition of this resource request system and cargo pods, you know, adds a little bit of life to the game. I think that's a cool little change. This is one of my favorite recent changes, is this sort of posture system. So this was behind the scenes quite a lot, but I've only recently put this out for the player. If you notice, we have enemy ships incoming here, but your fleet is not responding now. Your drones are responding, but your frigates here and even your fighters are just standing still. This is because they have this posture of, I guess, hold position or ignore enemies or something like that, where these ships simply won't engage these other enemies. And this just gives you these sort of tactics where sometimes you just really want your ships to hold formation or hold position, or you want them to retreat. You don't want them to be as independent as they were if you say engage, or what I call engage, where this unit is going to, well, okay, that enemy just blew up, where that unit is going to seek out targets that are nearby. That's the default posture. Now this third little icon is search and destroy, and that gives you a bit more control. When you click this search and destroy, yeah, you know, your units are going to scour the entire map and are going to engage enemy forces wherever they are. So what that is good for is mopping up your enemies. You know, you already won the battle, but you don't want to micromanage your troops. Give them search and destroy, and they will search out any enemy wherever it is and destroy it. So obviously you don't want that at the beginning of the game, because your forces might not be strong enough, but towards the end, maybe you're in a fighter, maybe you're dogfighting, and you just want to send your units to mop up the rest. You know, hit that search and destroy and watch it fly, you know. So what happens is, it turns out in Void Destroyer, you have, you know, these interesting ways of controlling ships. You essentially have every single way. You know, here I'm in a fighter. I'm directly controlling this fighter, and hopefully I'm not going to crash into this base. Here in tactical mode, I can give an order to this fighter, right? I can take a bunch of fighters, give them orders, or finally, I can just say, hey guys, your orders are to just go out and destroy just be completely independent. So you have these three or four, I lost track there, but you have these different ways of controlling your ships, pretty much hopefully any way you need to or will want to in a game. You know, direct control, issuing orders, and then issuing a blanket order for the ship to be independent. This is a tiny little change, but when you go into instant action, you get to see which scenarios are locked. This is hopefully to give new players an idea of what they can unlock via playing the game or via playing other instant action scenarios, so that they check this area a lot. This area is pretty important to me because it lets me, instant action scenarios, it lets me specifically create a specific scenario which I can't do in the main game. In the main game, I don't know exactly what the player has, which forces, which bases he built, which defenses, you know, they might have built. But here, I know exactly what the player's going to have. I know exactly what the enemy's going to have. So if we jump into one of these, I can make very specific scenarios for the player. For example, a dogfight against drones. You know, the first one the player is going to see now, where the player can practice their combat in a, I guess, a judgment-free environment. You know, where it doesn't stop the player from progressing in the game. The player can practice their combat against drones. So what these are these attempts, you know, these dogfight scenarios. These are new. There's 10 of them. They either unlock something else or they just let you experience the battle from a different perspective. But again, I can specifically cater these exactly how I want them, so I can make them a bigger challenge. Or I can make them more fun just to dogfight versus worry about your fleet. Just hop in a fighter, you dogfight. You know, some players have expressed to me that, you know, there's not enough time to dogfight because there's all these things going on, and I say, hey, play the game how you want to play, how you get enjoyment out of it. Don't worry so much about micromanaging. But then again, I understand from players' perspective, they want to play the game in the most efficient way. So these dogfights that I've created here, they're a way to give the player just a very quick and easy way to enjoy Void Destroyer's really cool, I think, you know, combat system. You know, just the joy of piloting a fighter and hitting a bunch of enemies, experiencing the cool effects without having to worry about your fleet. You know, you can pop one of these anytime you want and just have fun. And of course, it's added content for you guys, so I'm really happy about these. I will add some more here before release, and I hope you guys enjoy these. The other things I've been working on a lot is going through the story start to finish. I can't really demonstrate that, but I went through the story start to finish. I'm almost done. And once I get to the point, then I'll finish up the storyline. But the other aspects I've been working on, not related to the story, are these polish aspects. There's these tiny little issues that have been driving me nuts. Players haven't really complained about them, but they really shouldn't be there. For example, these sound pops. I'm going to demonstrate them. If you hear these little crackles and pops, I don't know how good they come out, but what was happening was I wasn't fading sounds out properly. There was a bug in the engine for fading sounds. I fixed that bug. Now I can fade sounds. So these bunch of pops shouldn't be an issue anymore. And here's the newer version. I'm going to try to get the sound to pop. And I believe I can't. I believe I can't do it anymore. So yeah, now I'm properly fading a bunch of sounds out. And these pops should go away. Now there was another source of pops, and that would be when there was so many sounds at once playing that the sound engine couldn't keep up. So what I did was I limited certain sounds to a quota. For example, 20 tiny missile explosion sounds. There was so many missiles flying around that there were just these constant pops due to that. I got rid of it. There's a bit more or less sound, however, it's more quality sound. It's just the limitations of the sound engine and hardware, that you can't have unlimited number of sounds like we can have in real life. There's a definite limit there. So that little change hopefully is this little bit of extra added polish that will help smooth the gaming experience, make it much more enjoyable. A bit more polish was done here. I've kind of replaced this arena mode, which I'm not really sure how many players use, but this is actually a tool I use sometimes to just really quickly set up some battles. Let's see, who do I want to beat up on? Yeah, it should be pretty decent of a battle here. So I have these sliders for asteroids, debris, and mines. If you want some added challenge and music and dust. For this video, I'm not going to put music on because it just kind of interrupts me talking. But I've worked through a bunch of these GUIs in the game and kind of improved them, making the visuals match the rest of the game. This sort of outline effect wasn't being applied, and there's been quite a lot of polish being done to the game that I thought I was going to demonstrate, but I think that would just bore you guys a lot if I were to demonstrate, so maybe I'll just talk. I'll mention some of the few things while you guys enjoy watching me engage in some dogfight action there. So basically, well, maybe actually I can't dogfight and talk at the same time. Let me just hit the pause button. Or actually, you know what? I can just hit crew control and have my ship do the fighting for me. So a lot of tiny little polishes have been done. For example, you know, that sound popping issue. Another little thing done was tactical mode in and out. When the ship was moving, this wasn't, oh man, we defeated all the enemies? Okay, I guess all the enemies have been defeated there. That was a quick battle. I should have given them more forces. But anyway, a lot of little polishes, like here you see when you put mouse over a unit, you see this red circle which demonstrates its range of its weapons. You also get these vertical lines on mouse over. Now keep in mind this is my art, so unfortunately it doesn't look very pretty. Maybe I'll have an artist take a look at these, spruce them up. But a lot of polish has been added to the game very recently. Just little tiny issues that I kept seeing over and over, like the fade in and out should be a little improved. It should be a little faster. I sort of stagger these effects to make this fade in and out. Swapping to tactical mode sometimes would result in a bad camera. If the ship was moving, what was happening was that I wasn't properly syncing the two modes before doing the camera setup, so the camera might end up being in the wrong spot. So these little tiny things that I'm probably really boring you guys with right now, if you stuck around this long to the end of the video, have been added to the game. Quite a lot of polish. You know, I'm kind of running out of things to polish. There's always something to polish, but at a certain point you got to call it done and release the game, and then, you know, go from there, polish it some more, add features, things like that, or make a new game or expansions, DLCs, or sandbox mode, things like that. So we're getting close to the end. It's pretty exciting. I'm very excited, and I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be really polished, and it's kind of funny because, you know, I'm still struggling with the interface here. Like this element here I slapped together from other sources. I'm still like struggling with artists to get this element redone. Art has been a huge challenge for the project. The project obviously is delayed, you know, almost a year now. But the funny thing about it is, when I think about these delays, they're really a good thing, unfortunately. I hate to say it, you know, I'm not able to like estimate things really well. I'm really terrible at estimating my time. But at least I'm good at I think at polish and being realistic about what the game needs in terms of, hey, it needs more, it needs to be better, it needs to be prettier or cleaner or less bug free, or have more information for the player. So I think these delays with the GUI, I hate to say it, but I think they're actually a good thing in terms of the end product. I think the end product is better because of these delays with the GUI not being able to find this art. Maybe if I had this art 6 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago when I first started working on the GUI with other artists, if I had this 2 years ago, maybe I would have been tempted to release the game earlier. Maybe it wouldn't have had as many features or as many polish elements as it does now. I don't know. You can't predict it, but I guess it's one of those things. Anyway, guys, I've kind of rambled. I'm not sure who stuck around listening to all this, but once again, thank you for supporting the project, whether you did it through Kickstarter, which really made the game possible, or early access, which made the speed of updates much possible. Maybe it would have taken me another year without early access, without being able to go part-time in my day job. And like right now, it's Monday, I'm doing this video. It's because early access was such a success that I was able to comfortably lose a few days on my day job because early access funding was able to cover it, comfortably, where I don't have to worry about losing the house and then things like that. So anyway, once again, I'm rambling. Thank you again, guys. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting the project. I look forward to the release. I hope you guys enjoy the game. If you don't, let me know. If you have any issues or feedback, let me know. And I hope to talk to you again soon.